when you're done and out of university, everyone, is like, some have gotten jobs, some have moved on with their lives. A lot of them, look like they have it all figured out, and they know what they are doing, and they know what they are about, and you are there. Because of that, I started to get pressured some way, because my classes are in the evenings, and then when I wake up, I'm like, so what do I do today? I want a job. So I started to talk to someone about wanting a job, getting a job, and all of that. And then the person helped me to think through it, but I was just so impatient. This person calls me one time and says that you have an interview tomorrow. I'm like, what? Come again. I have an interview tomorrow. Like, I haven't even prepared, nothing. It was just like so out of the blue. I'm like, okay. And I was excited about it. I didn't even tell my parents about it, but I was excited. So I'm like, okay, I will come for the interview. I didn't really check with God. I didn't really consult with God. All I wanted was a job, and that was about it. And so I went for the interview. They liked me. They gave me the job, told me I start the next day. I'm like, wait a minute, everything is happening so fast. So the next day I came, it was perfect, went well. About the third day of me being there, so I started to feel very uneasy, and then I told this person about it, and then the person said, probably because I'm new to the environment and it's a new job, you get all these feels. I'm like, okay, maybe that is it. Let me give it time. So I gave it time, but it just became worse, and the feeling became stronger and stronger. I was so unsettled, and I was so uneasy. I loved the job, I loved the people, I loved the place, but the timing was wrong. And then I kept telling this person that I think I need to quit, and I was barely a month old. I'm like, I think I need to, I want to stop. And I couldn't have explained exactly what I was feeling to this person after getting me the job and everything, and this is the kind of news you're bringing. It's very bombing, but I'm like, you know what, I think I need to stop, I need to quit. I just don't feel okay here. And so I gave them 2 weeks notice, and I quit the job. Now, why am I saying all of this? The job was perfect, but the timing wasn't. And so many of us know how to wait on God, but we don't know how to wait for God. We are waiting on God as in, God, I want to know what you think about this decision and blah, blah, blah. But waiting for God is like God hasn't moved yet. And so you also aren't moving. You also are, you are staying here until God moves. I want to encourage you today that never make the mistake of moving when God hasn't moved, or going ahead of God when he hasn't instructed you or giving you the direction to do so. Because trust me, the loss of peace and joy that I felt in this whole having a job phase, it's not worth it. Whether I wanted a job so badly or not, it just wasn't worth it. Numbers chapter 9 verses 19. Now the whole of Numbers chapter 9 from about verse 15 through to verse 23 talks about the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire. Now God kept giving the Israelites this instruction that unless the cloud moves, you guys aren't going anywhere. Unless the cloud moves, you guys stay here. And he even told them specifically that even if it takes a day or a month or years and the cloud hasn't moved, you don't move, you stay here. But so many of us, unlike the Israelites, we move even when the cloud hasn't moved, right? We get so tired of being in the place where God has been for so many years, and we're like, God, you know what, I need a change. Maybe you're tired of moving, so I'm gonna go. I have been staying in this position for so long and God hasn't moved, and I want something new in my life. And then you look at your friends, they've gone 10 times ahead of you, and you are still stuck at this place. And God is saying that until I move, you don't move. This is the hard thing about being led by the Spirit, because usually your flesh wants to take a step, but the Spirit is saying that it is not yet time. Stay here. And the reason why you want to obey the Spirit, even though your flesh is itching to move, is that the Spirit only leads you into places that would avoid mistakes. When you listen to your flesh and you move, you're always going to fall in one pothole to the other. Direction is much more important than speed. A lot of people are going so fast to nowhere. They are going so fast to a place where they are not meant to go. Always need to wait. God, what do you want me to do in this moment? Now, God told the Israelites that you don't move until I say you move. And the instruction was so clear, and God kept emphasizing on that so much in Numbers chapter 9. So if you read it, you will know how God kept saying, emphasizing that if I don't move, you don't move. If the cloud doesn't move, you don't move. If the cloud stays here, you also stay here. You don't move. God kept emphasizing it throughout. Now, the interesting thing about this whole Numbers chapter 9 was that the first time that God gave that instruction, they were in a desert called Sinai. Now, the next time that the cloud moved, it moved to another desert called Paran. God moved them from one desert to another desert. And for us, and for so many of us, that is how our lives have been. Like God has given you an instruction, but then your obedience to that instruction is like bringing you much more like, I don't know what is happening. I can't figure this out. What is going on? God legit moved them from one desert to another desert. Now, plot twist. Usually our desert moments and our wilderness moments are God's idea. Yes, Jesus was led into the wilderness by the Spirit of God. The Israelites were led into the desert by the pillar of cloud. I asked the Holy Spirit, why did he have to carry them from one desert to another desert? Because the Israelites were well on their way to the promised land. I mean, the land that flows with milk and honey. So why do they have to be in the desert, move to another desert till they get to that promised land? Right? And then this was what the Holy Spirit told me. He said that first of all, there were two things why the desert times were important. Now, desert times are times you don't feel seen. You don't know what is happening. It's like you can't figure this out. It's like, you are isolated and cut out from everyone. The desert moments, it's like you are alone in this world and you just can't figure out what is happening. Those are like the desert moments. And then I asked God, why did he have to do that? Why did he have to keep carrying them from desert to desert? And then the Holy Spirit said that because he carried them from one desert to another desert, he was there in the next desert that they went to. He was there because he carried them there in the first place. And the desert moments are usually like places of isolation, a place where it is just you and God. So because God is there and because no one else is there, because it's a very lonely and isolated, secluded place, it actually offers you an opportunity to build your relationship with God. Usually when people get to the desert times, they are in a hurry to run away from the desert and run straight into their promised land. But the next importance that God gave me about this whole desert experience was that the desert times, he was able to provide for them in the desert times, so that when they finally reach the land that flows with milk and honey, they wouldn't think that because the land is rich and they are finally in a place of abundance, that is why they have a lot to eat. So that their trust will not be in the place and what the place offers, but their trust will be in the one who brought them to that place. Even in a place where there's so much around, there's so much abundance, flowing with milk and honey, it looks good, it looks great. Still, when they need something, they would go to God and not look at the place or the environment that they find themselves in. So God being able to provide for them in the desert taught them that it wasn't about the place or what the place offers, but it was about God himself, who is Jehovah Jireh, who is able to provide for us. It may look like it's taking a long time for this to happen. It may look like it's taking like 20 years for this to happen, but trust me, when it finally happens, it will look like it happened all of a sudden. This is what happened to Joseph. I'm sure the people in Egypt will be like, this guy just came as a prisoner and the next day he's a prime minister, but they don't know the background story. Now, I am telling you that all these years that you are also going through, it's like no one cares about it, and no one cares about you, and no one cares about your journey. I am here to tell you that these years are not wasted years, because when you finally reach there and you finally make it, people are going to come all the way back to all the years behind you to find out how you started, and the real story is going to be in those years. The real impact of your story is going to be in those years. So hold on, don't move until God moves. Don't move until the clouds move. Don't move ahead of God. Take your time, be patient. Oh my God, it's crazy how we are not naturally patient people. Like, I need to be in control. It's bad. But I want to encourage you to just take your time. Take your time. It's taking long, but take your time. Wait for God. God's time is not our time. He does things when he wants to do them because he is God. So I hope this one would give you some encouragement. Don't feel pressured by what people are doing. Don't feel pressured because you're not yet in college. Don't feel pressured because you don't yet have a job. Just don't feel pressured because you're not married, you don't have kids and all of that. Do not feel pressured. Do not feel pressured, because God is right where you are with you. He hasn't moved. He's right where you are with you. He is there with you. He sees you. God sees you, okay? God sees you. So I hope this would encourage you to wait on God and not move far ahead of God. So thank you so much for listening. We'll meet again on our next video. Bye.